The grinding shriek of the emergency brake cut through the summer air, silencing the screams of joy from the riders. Our massive spinning attraction froze, suspended just a few feet off the ground. My head whipped around and my stomach plummeted. There, trapped inside the safety fence, standing on the platform where he absolutely should not have been, was my coworker, his face a mask of pure terror. This had happened before, and I knew in that instant, someone was going to get fired. The only question was, who would they blame this time? To understand how we got here, we have to go back. 5 years ago, when I was 17, my summer job was at a massive, sprawling theme park. I worked there for the better part of a year and picked things up fast. So fast, in fact, that I became the unofficial responsible one whenever a manager wasn't around, which was often. Our team was mostly teenagers, and our direct supervisor was a college student intern. We'll call him Michael. To put it mildly, Michael was not good at leading. He was even worse at training. The ride I worked on was a big one. It required a minimum of 3 people to operate, 1 in the control booth, 1 at the entrance gate, and 1 at the exit. On busy days, we'd have 4 or 5 of us to manage the massive lines. The layout was tricky. The person in the booth couldn't see the person at the exit gate directly, so we had radios to communicate. But technology fails. From day one, we were drilled on a set of universal, park-wide hand signals. They were our foolproof backup for a dead radio or for quick, non-verbal communication. They were just as important as the emergency stop button. That summer had been cursed. Before this incident, 3 freshly certified new hires had made the exact same mistake. They had started the ride with someone locked inside the fence, not safely buckled into a seat. Twice, it was another employee. The third time, it was a guest, which was a 5-alarm fire of a mistake that brought the fear of God into the entire department. In each of those cases, the person in the control booth was so oblivious they didn't realize their catastrophic error until their coworkers were screaming into the radio for them to hit the e-stop. Those new hires were either moved to a ride that was basically a glorified merry-go-round. About an hour later, one of our crew members was scheduled to end their shift. We were down to 4, but with the line snaking all the way back to the churro stand, we really needed to stay at that number. I called the other ride on the radio. "Hey, can you send Michael back over? We're getting swamped." A few minutes later, someone trudged over to our ride to help. But it wasn't Michael. It was just another ride operator. Weird, but okay. At least we had the extra hands. Another hour crawled by. Someone else's shift ended, and we were about to be down to the bare minimum of 3 people, which was not ideal for a crowd this size. To make matters worse, all our radio batteries were starting to die, the low battery chirp beeping incessantly in our ears. I called again, specifically asking for Michael to come back. Silence. By now, the park was slowing down a little. Seeing my chance, I told the guys I was taking the radios to the main office to swap out the batteries. As the spare 4th person, it was the logical thing to do. It was a 10-minute round trip, tops. While I was gone, the team seamlessly switched to the hand signals we were all trained to use. It was second nature. When I came back with a fresh set of batteries, I saw that our lead, Michael, had once again sent someone else over to take his spot. And that's when it clicked. The other ride he was helping at had a nice, big, air-conditioned control booth. Michael wasn't putting out fires. He was chilling in the AC, shooting the breeze while the rest of us were sweating it out in the sun. The guy he sent over this time was a problem. He normally worked a roller coaster on the other side of the park and hadn't operated our complex ride in over a month. I could see the uncertainty on his face. Being the responsible one, I gave him a quick 5-minute refresher on the controls and the sequence. He seemed to get it, so I put him in the booth. I turned around to help a guest with a stroller, my back to the control booth for maybe 30 seconds. That's when I heard the yelling. I spun back around just in time to see the ride lurch to a halt. It was the scene from my nightmares. The entrance operator was locked inside the fence, his eyes wide with panic. The guy in the booth, to his credit, had realized his mistake instantly and slammed the e-stop himself. He knew he'd messed up. They treated the area like a crime scene. They pulled each of us aside one by one and interrogated us. It was intense and accusatory. After grilling us, The suits stood in a huddle, talking in low, angry tones for what felt like an eternity. Then, they walked over to the poor guy from the roller coaster, the one Michael had sent over, and they fired him on the spot. Just like that. His summer job, gone. Then they came for the rest of us. They concocted a list of bogus reasons to have us all removed from ride operations and reassigned to janitorial duties. They were making an example of us. I was furious. I tried to rip into Michael for abandoning his post and sending an untrained employee to cover for him, but I was a scared, anxiety-ridden 17-year-old. My angry words probably came out as a nervous squeak. My real anger was for the guy who got fired. He never should have been put in that position in the first place. But then, they turned their full attention to me. Michael must have thrown me under the bus, telling them I was in charge while he was gone. They tried to pin the whole thing on me, using the radios as their weapon. Their official accusation was that I had removed communication devices from the ride area, which, they claimed, prevented the team from telling the control booth operator that someone was in the danger zone. It was complete and utter bull. I tried to explain. The radios were already dead. That's why I took them. The incident happened after I got back with the new ones. I pleaded with them. Besides, we have hand signals for this exact reason. We're trained to use them. They didn't give a damn. They just wanted a scapegoat, and the lazy lead wasn't going to be it. They shoved a piece of paper in my face, a formal write-up, and told me to sign it. Signing it would be admitting fault for the whole thing. I refused. My last 2 weeks of summer before leaving for college were not going to be spent cleaning toilets because of Michael's incompetence. This standoff stretched over a few days. I was in limbo, but they couldn't force me to sign. In retaliation, management created a brand new, monumentally stupid rule, just for our ride. The rule was, if a single radio battery started dying, we were forbidden from getting a replacement ourselves. We had to call a manager. Then, we had to shut down the entire ride, and the very next day I was back at the ride, on janitorial probation but still certified. My radio started making that familiar, annoying low-battery chirp. A tiny, evil smile spread across my face. I picked up the phone and called the area manager. "Hi, yeah, my radio is dying. Per the new rule, I need you to bring me a new battery." Then I hung up and waited. A half hour went by. The line for the ride grew longer and longer, snaking deep into the park. People were getting restless. I called the manager again. "Just checking on that battery." 10 minutes later, my radio finally died. "All right, folks," I announced to the team. "Radio's dead. Shut it down." We closed the entrance gate and began the shutdown procedure. The crowd, who had been waiting for over an hour in the sweltering heat, erupted. They were furious. People started yelling at me, demanding to know what was going on. I put on my most sympathetic, helpless customer service face. "I'm so sorry, folks," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We have to close the ride for safety reasons. A radio battery died and, per our new management policy, we are not allowed to open again until a manager personally delivers a new one. Safety first, you know." The anger immediately shifted from me to the invisible, idiotic management. People started demanding to speak to a manager themselves. The chaos was beautiful. Just then, the manager finally showed up, pushing through a sea of angry guests. He saw the disaster he had on his hands. He wordlessly thrust the battery at me, his face grim. I took it from him with the biggest, sweetest smile I could manage. "Thank you so much." The ride reopened, but the damage was done, and I did it again the next day, and the day after that. After a flood of official guest complaints about rides being closed for an hour over a dead battery, upper management magically decided that their new rule was perhaps a bit of an overreaction. An email went out, reminding everyone of the importance of hand signals as a primary form of backup communication. I never did sign that paperwork. I worked my last 2 weeks and left for college. And in a stroke of cosmic irony, I ran into Michael on campus that first semester. He saw me, gave a little awkward nod, and I just stared back at him with the dirtiest look I could muster. He quickly looked away, and I never saw him again. The best part? The following summer, I applied to the park again. They rehired me, not as a ride operator, but as a lead. I spent that whole summer making sure my teams were properly trained. that they were supported, and that I was always there when they needed me. I actually did my damn job. And every time I had to remind a new hire about the importance of hand signals, I thought about Michael, and I smiled.